Hello, everyone. I'm back. Thank you for the reprieve and putting up with it. I have one of my favorite people on the planet, Casey Stern, joining me because there's nothing going on in the NBA except for one individual named Kevin Durant. Sorry, folks. I know it's getting old, but what else are we going to talk about? We got the Warriors schedule. I'll throw that out there as well. We should have some fun, though. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Casey Stern, host of Unfiltered. You can find that on YouTube. Just search Casey Stern. You will find it at Casey Stern. If you're watching on YouTube, he is showing you the way. And you can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRocho. Casey, can you summarize? You posted on Twitter yesterday a beautiful rant. I love amazing rants like that. But can you summarize or maybe expand on what you said yesterday in regards to your thoughts on Kevin Durant, who reportedly, supposedly, is willing to retire or not if he doesn't get his way? Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, and afterwards he tweeted, which we'll get to, we'll talk about, but he tweeted afterwards saying that he did not, and it's comical, like basically like, oh, you people are crazy, right? Like it came out of nowhere. I always say this, and this is just not a cop-out. We don't know with these reports what's true and what's not. We don't, right? And I know this, like I have even heard times where I've been, around, either sport I cover, whether it's baseball or basketball, where I've heard something and I go ask somebody and they're like, no, I never said that. And then I kind of follow up and I'm like, wait, they didn't say that, right? Kevin Durant's back of the baseball card reads like 1-800 I need a life coach. So, the idea that he would say anything like this is easy to believe. Okay, let's just be fair, right? Here's where I am on Kevin Durant. He won with the Warriors, where you can stay locked on right here and lock on my Twitter at Casey Stern, because all of you should like me now. It's like cheap pops. I feel like Mick Foley. But he won with the Warriors, okay? He didn't win with the Thunder. They won, but not the level he's supposed to. He went to the Warriors. He won. Then he left. He was hurt. He said, here, construct a team for me exactly in this manner. He was showing off his skills as an executive where he said the following: here's how we're going to win. Give me Kyrie and James Harden. Any questions? It's like, remember those shirts? Like, this is your brain on drugs? Like, here's a guy who now is saying, which, by the way, I don't believe at all that he says, it wasn't him that wanted Steve Nash, right? I mean, Warrior fans know this more than anybody because of their relationship. Kevin Durant was waxing poetic about how perfect that was. Please,
yes,
don't tell me you weren't behind that, because you were. Second of all, it's your ridiculous philosophy that has helped put all this together, because you're the one who kept telling them you want Kyrie and James Harden and you were going to win with these guys, right?
So just interrupt you real quick. Was Harden, was that a KD thing? Like he wanted James Harden? I don't remember that far back. Like, was that his idea, was he the muse?
It depends what you believe. I know this, right? Let's look at the facts. Played with Harden, right? Then lost Harden. Had already said, there was a report out, and these were like multiple reports just a few weeks ago, that one of the teams he'd go to would be Philadelphia because he wants to play with Harden again.
There
right?
you go.
So now I'm like, okay. The best part is, it's like they say insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting different results. Do you really think it's going to work again? Like, poor Joel Embiid, get this guy a therapist. If these two guys are over there, it's ridiculous. And, like, he wants to get traded with Kyrie. Kevin Durant's a pain in the ass, all right? At the end of the day, he is a complete pain in the ass. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again. He's an upper-level Hall of Fame talent. Upper echelon Hall of Fame talent.
Agreed.
He's not a winner.
He's not. And I made that argument from the get-go that to be the true top level, the highest tier imaginable Hall of Famer superstar, you have to have that one intangible that most greats don't have, and that's the mental toughness. To be that alpha dog, to lead your team to glory. That's something Stephen Curry has. Kobe had it. LeBron sometimes has it. Michael Jordan has it. Kevin Durant does not have that, clearly. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you today, A, to make some great content, hopefully, and B, because I believe some of what I'm going to tell you. I don't disagree with anything you've said about Kevin Durant. I think he is not easy to work with.
Entitled.
He is an idealist who every time his ideals aren't met, he whines like a petulant child and expects people to just cater to his whim. I don't deny any of that. Where I'm not taking sides with the Brooklyn Nets is the fact that my guess is here, and this is my guess, but I believe this fervently, is that they promised him verbally that him and Kyrie were going to be the decision makers for this whole thing, right? That they were going to have a say in all this, and that they were going to be the Batman and Robin to whatever the Brooklyn Nets were going to become. Then they decided not to offer Kyrie an extension. That clearly pissed off Kevin Durant. And in Kevin Durant's eyes, he's probably thinking, I signed this extension, this 4-year deal, under the premise that Kyrie was going to be with me and that I would have a say in all of these personnel decisions, which is now not happening. I'm guessing that's why he's pissed off at Sean Marks. I don't even know what the hell the Steve Nash thing is all about, besides the fact that Nash is not a good coach.
No, he's
I've
not.
never
But
seen.
But if Kevin Durant was a winner, he could win despite that. Sorry.
True. That's true. No, that's fair. But my point is that I see Durant's side of this, which is that, look, you guys lied to me. You misled me. I know things aren't going the way we all wanted, but since they didn't, and since this is a train wreck, I want out. Do you have any credence to that? Like, do you feel like Kevin Durant, based on the fact that he probably was misled, that he probably was verbally lied to? I mean, who knows what really happened, but under that premise, do you side with Durant a little more? Or are you still just saying
No.
F you,
Well,
Durant?
here's why. Right? And I love Kyrie, and he's a special human.
Yes.
I enjoy Kyrie. I mean, really, if there was pure joy, it's just watching everything Kyrie does. Now that we've gotten that BS out of the way, we didn't know there would be a pandemic. We didn't know that there was going to be a vaccination situation where the man who thinks the earth is differently handled than everyone else was then going to stand on, he had no soapbox to stand on with being a winner of a 28-game team, right? 28-win season with the Cavaliers and then running, or the Celtics who he left there. And I'll say what I've said on this podcast before, LeBron would be still winning championships with Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Facts. If he was on there instead of Kyrie, okay? He would have taken those young kids. They'd still be together winning championships. Imagine, right?
So you're right. That was
let's be
scary
fair.
thought.
But
Scary
I think,
thought. You're right.
and I'm curious your take on this. What I believe is that it wasn't a lie. It was then Kyrie showed who he is. And I'm not going to play. I'm not here. I'm not on road trips. You can't lead a team. It's like, I always admire, like in Braveheart and like a lot of these great movies, like there's always like, okay, we got all these guys that like when the arrows hit them, they're all gone. And then like the guys in the back. So I like Black Panther. Dude's out front. Like, I mean, when you're saying Wakanda Forever, he right there, right?
The
Kyrie,
pawns, yeah.
if you want to lead a team, you got to be there with the team. Basketball, Mr. Hooper. All I do is hoop. I like to hoop. I'm a hooper. Where are you playing? NBA 2K? So that's the problem I have with it. That I think Kyrie's actions and his attitude surfaced, and the Nets got smart and said, we don't want any of this crap. That's not lying to KD. That's KD needs to wake up and think to himself because, and I'm really curious your take on this because, I mean, look, as well it is. They could build a team around Kevin Durant without Kyrie, and Kevin Durant is LeBron level good. He could carry that team to a title. He don't need Kyrie. If Kevin Durant had Andrew Wiggins and Poole and those guys, he could do what Steph Curry's doing, at least to get there, right? The numbers, Kevin Durant, the attention, the defense has got all that stuff. He don't need Kyrie for what? He don't need Kyrie.
Do you think Kevin Durant is that good where he can still lead a team to a championship if he's like the marquee headliner of the team?
To the playoffs, yes. I think with a chance to win a championship, I think it depends who the other members are. I think if he had a cast of guys who are willing, look, if Klay Thompson was his 2, right? And I don't just mean 2 guard, but like second, right? If he's sitting there with a group that is willing to, look, who's not acquiescing to Kevin Durant? He's a cyborg, right? But he is also egotistical and has to trust that if I pass the ball or wherever I go, no problem passing to Klay Thompson, right? So who does he got? I think if you give Kevin Durant shooters, right? You line up shooters and give him some defense and some grit where he's not going to sit there and think like, hey, I don't even want to play my level of D because these guys can't hack it. Yeah, it doesn't mean it would be a guarantee, but he certainly could be a number one option. The problem is Kyrie is like, it's like making a great pasta sauce and it's like just ready. And you're like, I don't know if I need a pinch more of salt. Does it need a little more garlic? And then somebody brings over like anchovies and dumps them in there. I mean, honestly, Kyrie is, I hate using cancer in the clubhouse because it's way more serious. But whatever the second thing is you could power rank beyond cancer, that's what he is in any locker room. He's a joke.
Yeah, he's a COVID. He's a COVID for any locker room.
I
have no disagreement with you. I think Kyrie Irving is, he's repulsive. I don't like what he stands for. Everyone who knows him personally says he's like a nice guy, and that's great. But he has so much influence, and he uses that influence to just espouse misinformation, pure ignorance. I can't stand him. And even James Harden couldn't stand him because of that one incident with the sage, burning sage in a locker room. That was just mind-blowing to me, hearing stuff like that.
And remember the line, not to interrupt, but just remember, too, in the NBA, more than in baseball where I work, when you work in basketball, there's more lying because I got shoe deal. I'm tied to all these other players, so nobody that's tied to anything having to do with his shoes is going to say anything bad. Doesn't mean behind the scenes they're not saying, what an idiot, right? But you can't, there's so many other things outside of just your team, right? With the agencies and the way that it's just it's a different animal with the way these guys are branded off the court.
Yes.
That I'm telling you, if you put a confessional, a lot of like one of those reality shows where they mask the voice and like you can't see, I think you'd have a lot of dudes being like, this guy is a pain in the ass.
No, you're right.
Imagine what they're thinking when he doesn't play and he's sitting there and expounding like he's Freud or giving you the philosophies of Kyrie. Like, who's reading that book? No one.
When we come back, we're going to talk more about this. There's a lot to discuss here, and we'll obviously tie in the Warriors with this. But first, I got to talk about a longtime sponsor of this program, Built Bars, who were clutch for me. I just got back from a 5-state road trip going through the Pacific Northwest, and sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere. I was literally surrounded by nothing, and I was hungry, and I needed something to eat, and Built Bar came through for me. These are protein bars packed with protein, yet light on sugar. On average, your average Built Bar has 17 grams of protein, yet only 4 grams of sugar, whereas your average candy bar, which is all they sold in most of these random gas stations I went to, has on average 28 to 32 grams of sugar. Folks, sugar is awful for you. And Built Bars on average have just 160 calories per bar. They make you feel full with all that protein, and the protein is really good for you. It's collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, and it provides a ton of health benefits. If you want your Built Bars, you can order a mixed bag. You can pick a flavor you love. I'm all about granola. Just go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and get 15% off your order. Again, the promo code is LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For your second listen, get up to date on the latest news and rumors in the NBA in just 30 minutes every day with Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA, your daily NBA update in just 30 minutes. You can follow Casey Stern on Twitter at Casey Stern and watch his podcast and YouTube show Unfiltered. Just search Casey Stern wherever you get podcasts or if you're on YouTube. My thing with
you want to get locked on Kyrie, just bang your head against the wall 40 times.
Oh my God. Oh my God, can you imagine that?
And then dribble a basketball.
That would either be the lowest rated show on the Locked On Network or the highest. One or the other.
He'd never show up. I mean, it would be you and I could vie for replacement host, and it would give us another gig because he ain't ever going to go.
I'm 100% with you on the Kyrie stuff. Excuse me, you just got me laughing harder. I also don't like Sean Marks that much anymore, though, either. I think he's incredibly overrated. I look at his body of work, and I'm just like, meh, at best. I don't.
Who was great? Kenny Atkinson.
Who they let go. Yes. And so my point is that maybe, look, why not? If you're going to keep KD, or if you're going to continue this ridiculous stance with the trade request that you're putting out there, I mean, there's now 2 confirmed reports that Sean Marks went to the Timberwolves, asked for Anthony Edwards, and asked for Karl-Anthony Towns, and 4 first-round picks. It is now confirmed he approached the Celtics and asked for both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and draft picks. these are asinine requests. I mean, I would hang up the phone immediately if someone called me with that kind of ridiculous
question,
request.
Cyrus,
Yeah.
let me ask you. Wouldn't you do that? Don't you think the end game is, and I'm curious, look, we don't know, but I'm curious what your thought is on this. And for those of you who are locked on, while you're chewing your Built Bars, at Casey Stern on Twitter, I'm getting cheap pop my way to like at least 100 new followers during just the course of this.
Direct
I'm
messaging
hypnotizing you down here.
You accept direct messages.
Oh, accept direct messages. I mean, honestly, like I only get food like today if you tweet me and if you follow. So you don't want me to eat a Built Bar? What's wrong with you people? Now listen, let me ask you this so seriously.
Yeah.
Do you not think that the Nets' end game is, because this is what I see, this is the standoff I see, okay, from where we sit. The Nets' position is he planned for us. We're going to offer these crazy trades because we would take them.
Right.
Okay? But he's going to play for us because he's not Kyrie, and he does want to hoop, and that we do know about Kevin Durant, and he's going to play. He cares about his legacy. He's way too insecure over his stats. I got him the best. He's going to play. Kevin Durant's stance is, I'm going to do everything in my power to make you take a crappy deal because you want me gone and or don't think I'm going to play there. Do you see it any other way than that? That's why the Nets offers to me, and I'm curious your opinion on this, like that's why to me the offers are so crazy because they know he's not Kyrie. Kevin Durant's going to play. And Kevin Durant knows that if they don't get rid of me, I'm going to play. So I got to make them think I'm going to retire. I got to make them hate me to get rid of me. Do you see it a different way than that?
No, you're right. If I'm Kevin Durant, though, I understand why he's doing that if you really want to get out of there so bad. My issue with Sean Marks is I feel like he is now Dork Elvis 2.0. He's someone who, if he's going to make a trade with, in other words, if you're on the other end of that phone with Sean Marks, I think every GM in the NBA now knows I'm not going to get a fair deal out of this. So why am I going to even bother with this guy who thinks he's smarter than me, who's coming at me with outrageous trade proposals that are incredibly one-sided? And I think Durant is seeing that too. I think what Durant sees is Mark's making these outrageous trades. The intent of it, again, either it's his ego and he thinks he can get these kind of packages, or he's trying to scare teams off intentionally so that Durant stays, right? Regardless, if you're Durant, you can't be happy with that. Like, you cannot be happy with being in a position where I want out.
Contract.
I know, but again, going back to the premise at the beginning of the show, he signed that under the guise that they were going to have Kyrie alongside him, and he was going to be able to.
Kyrie, Jiminy Cricket? Like, what is?
I agree. Look. You're right about all that stuff. Okay, like you're right about all that stuff. I'm just putting myself in Kevin Durant's shoes, and just trying to see this from his perspective. It is interesting, by the way, as well. Kevin Durant has now called into question the credibility of not one but two fairly prominent reporters. A few years back, I'm going to get Ethan Strauss on the program soon because he had that rather infamous press conference interaction with them. And then now I believe Brian Windhorst, a.k.a. Windy, was the person who reported that Durant would potentially retire. I'm sorry, KD. I'm going to take the word of the journalists over you.
Kevin Durant, but Cyrus, here's the thing. Kevin Durant, right? Everything's human element. We think athletes are different. All the situations are like situations we've had in our life. They're very different at a much higher magnified level. But this is what happened, right? And I'm dealing with it in baseball. He got ringworm, right?
That's crazy, 1-800
man. I get some clostebol. I mean, what a jackass, right?
He is such a... Yeah.
People, when they get caught, then all of a sudden want to retract that it ever happened. Kevin Durant definitely, in my opinion, did all of this behind the scenes to get the Nets, get me the hell out of here, right? Never thought it would get out. And he never thought it would be tighter that people would believe, right? Now, he looks more insecure than even he normally does with his 17 extra burner accounts, so now he's got to retract it. That's the way I saw it. It's like, you know when people say, like, you look guilty when you defend yourself harder about something, it really would roll off you if you didn't do it, right? It wouldn't bother you.
True.
Kevin Durant jumping out on Twitter the way he did and saying it's comical tells you it's true.
No, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. Look, but the bottom line is this. Kevin Durant is a total ass. Kyrie Irving is exponentially bigger.
Worse.
But Kevin Durant is a total ass. The fact, and again, this is where I look at the Nets and I'm like, you asked for this. You literally gave everything up to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on your team. And then you also brought in James Harden. These are like the three biggest head cases in the whole game. You asked for this. This is why, like, I look at Sean Marks and I'm thinking, you're an ass too. Like, you put this whole ridiculous, horrible mess together. I don't know where Steve Nash fits in all this. I think he's just sitting around, doing his own thing, but I don't think he cares.
But he was Durant's choice. I mean, that's the crazy part. He was Durant. Yes. Durant sold his ass out and said, I didn't even want him. That's how badly he wants out of Brooklyn or like just wants to go play with his friends. And look, the other part of this, and we talked about this, a few weeks ago here, and I've said this many times. Here's where KD, this is why I'm not going to feel bad for him at all. He's gone to the Nets, right? Before we got to now we're like we're like really past it, right? He went to the Nets, trade me to Miami, but no, you don't understand. Like, you're not allowed to get Bam in the deal because I got to play with him. Are you serious? Who the hell are you? I feel like Chris Rock. Who is you? Like, seriously, right? But you see where I'm coming from. It's like,
I do.
I get now because I understand your point. But to me, all of that stuff, maybe you would have gotten traded to Miami. Look, Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero and some draft picks is not worth Kevin Durant, but you might have had a deal that could work around that. You can't tell them you can't trade Bam in the deal because I got to play with him. What the hell am I doing the deal for? He wanted them to deal for Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and some draft picks. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care what the Nets did here. You can't do that. But to me, that makes it worse. It makes it worse. Like, he'll go to the Pelicans, he's willing. If I can play with Brandon Ingram. You call the Pelicans. Who do you want? Like, who do you want me to trade for exactly? You want me to go down the benches of these teams? That's the problem I have.
There's a lot of problems here. Do you have any skin in this game? Like, are the Nets your team?
No, I'm a Knicks fan.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so you can care less what
I have
happens.
The skin in the therapy game and in the disappointment game and in the I really won't even be able to pay for my therapist if you don't at Casey Stern and join me and become a new follower today.
And Unfiltered and watch.
Yes, and Unfiltered. Hashtag Unfiltered. Just look for the ones that are in caps because I'm a complete jackass and I write Unfiltered in caps to separate from the 17 other podcasts named Unfiltered.
What's funny? I did randomly search the other day. I'm like, I want to check out. I want to see who's had on lately. And I searched Unfiltered, and you're right. There's like yours didn't even come up on the first page. I was like,
I'm
God,
the best.
But no, but I guess so. What is the end game here? Like, what? Okay, here's what I feel logically the Nets need to do, and I love how this is Locked On Warriors. We barely mentioned the Warriors once.
We're locked on KD. We're the side of Kyrie, which is basically a meal that'll send you to hell. Seriously.
I mean, on one hand, thank you, KD, for the content. On the other hand, I'm sorry everyone watching today expecting Warriors content. This is what's going on. There is a tie into the Warriors, though. First of all, now that the Nets have lost some leverage here, do you see a trade? Because I still stand by this firmly that Joe Lacob did really want Kevin Durant. That is his baby. He never wanted him to leave the Warriors in the first place. So if there's a reasonable offer, and when I say reasonable, I mean Wiggins, Jordan Poole, 2 first-round picks.
Wiggins and Poole to start.
Yeah, well, but also ends there. Like, if it ends there and you throw in 2 first-round picks, are the Nets still going like hell no to that? Or I mean,
but you can't. Like, you have to. Like, and I know, and I don't mean you. And I don't want to.
You can't mean me.
Now it's 7 of the followers I just added are already in the middle. It's the first time ever in the middle of an interview they followed and unfollowed the same person in the same conversation. I know you won't, but a lot of fans want to sell their like TV that still has an antenna to go like at their garage sale for the price of an HD television. They think like, because the trade only works for what I'm getting. Don't you see how it works for us? If I'm the other side and I'm giving you Kevin Durant, who I know, I don't care how pissed off he is going to play for me, right? And I know I could trade him at the deadline next year if I still want to, right? I could have traded him at the end of the year if I still want to, right? Based on I still have him in the contract. I can't trade him for Wiggins and Poole and a couple of kids that I don't even know who they are yet or exist because now my franchise is even in the Eastern Conference. Where am I? Andrew Wiggins is going to be what? Then Kyrie's gone because if you get rid of Durant, I mean, Kyrie's going to anyway at the end of the year, right? So now I got what? Now I have all supporting cast members. I have to have one dude in the deal. Like, that's why, like, to me, Bam and Tyler Hero, I think I love Bam. Like, I'm not a Heat fan, but I love watching the dude play. I think he could be a bigger force for other teams than he even is. Like, I don't even think he knows how good he is. He's one of the best passing big men we've ever seen at his size to do what he does, right? Tyler Hero's a dude who can bring some tickets in the building the way he plays. Even there, you don't have a guy. That's why it's like, okay, if New Orleans were, okay, you're telling me like Ingram? Okay, now I got somebody I could sell as a guy. I need a guy. Wiggins was that guy when he wasn't that guy in Minnesota, right? He's not that guy now. Now he's a good guy. Don't you think? Like, put yourself in the shoes of Sean Marks or anybody with the Nets. If I'm going to give you Durant, I can't give you Durant. I have to trade him to you. And I need one name that my fans could be like, okay, it's not Kevin Durant, but I'll go watch that guy play. I love it. I love what Andrew Wiggins has done. You and I both know we've seen what he's looked like when it's his team. That's not a dude. It's just not. It's just not. Ja Morant. Like, it's not happening, but you know what I'm saying? Like that level, totally get it. There's got to be a guy in the deal. Has to be.
Well, if I'm Bob Myers, I'm selling this deal as Jordan Poole is your future guy. I guess the bottom line for Sean Marks and why I don't think he's gonna make the right decision here is that if you're gonna trade Kevin Durant, I don't think you're gonna win the trade if you're trying to aim for a guy. I think if you're the Nets, the only real feasible option here is to blow it up, but if you're trying to appease the fans and you want to get a star in the process, you're just not going to win that trade. You're not going to win. I don't think there's anything out there. Like, who are the Sixers going to offer back? Who are the Celtics? Jaylen Brown.
I like Jaylen Brown. I mean,
I like him a lot.
He's a guy. He's just not a dude. Like, he's like, now that we like announcing tiers that have no definitions, but like, look, if Kyrie's on your team still, which you're stuck with, and he actually is playing every game, and you have Jaylen Brown, and you tell me that, like, Marcus Smart comes in the deal, right, to play next to Kyrie, right, in the kind of like, be like his,
But Kevin Durant wants Marcus Smart.
Reference on this podcast.
Durant wants Marcus Smart, so
right, that's the
we have to listen to him. We have to make him happy.
We have to make him happy. Like I never heard of anything like this. Michael Jordan won with Luke Longley, Will Perdue,
correct,
like Bison
correct.
Dele, B.J. Armstrong,
correct.
John Paxson. Like, do you know who these guys were? Amon Shumpert and J.R. Smith were jokes for the Knicks and went to LeBron. That's what winners do. I don't care that Kyle Korver missed a shot in the corner. I'm a LeBron apologist in terms of, like, people forget what he is now in his career. Will never truly respect how that dude is a dude, right? Who's Kevin Durant made better? Give me one player during his time with the Warriors even. Give me one player that wasn't because of Kerr, the culture, or Steph Curry. That, like, Kevin Durant made him better.
There's none. But Casey, I think most of the league also sees that, and that's why the Nets are never going to get back what they want for Durant. He is an enigma in the sense that you're right. He's this top tier Hall of Famer, one of the greatest scorers ever. He's a freaking unicorn in terms of being 7 feet yet playing like a guard. But he does not have the mental capability to lead a team or do the things, those intangibles that you mentioned, making people around him better. He doesn't do that. That's not what you're going to get with Kevin Durant. So he's a weird player who is probably realistically going to be his perfect fit will be as a second best player. But that's just never going to happen with it. The Nets just aren't going to win this
I would have
trade.
moved him to the Lakers. I would have moved Kyrie instead. And I would have moved Kyrie in a Westbrook deal because I would have said to KD, hey, look, we've seen Dwayne Wade return to Miami after, no, I'm being serious.
I know you are.
Because they
so
both would be
though.
Tied there, right?
Yeah.
But you get a ton of picks with it, right? And you alleviate bad money in the deal. You basically make everything outside of Westbrook set you up for the next offseason. And you give KD the sale that Westbrook played with you and vice versa better than that's your best combo you've ever had in terms of playing with a guy. It's the best he's ever had. And we're going to have all this money and cap space and all these picks in the offseason now coming up and spend the whole year basically selling yourselves to go add whoever the hell you want, and we'll go get them for you in the offseason. And then you'll still, if you're KD, have 3 more shots. And try and right the wrong you made in Oklahoma City. That's the sale I would have made. And try and alleviate bring all the cap space, get a ton of picks, and then give Durant and Westbrook a year to get back on the page that, look, they were on the court, and then go pick your team. We're going to have all this cap space. We'll have all these kids. We'll make these draft picks. You got a year of this years we got left, and we're stuck with Westbrook too, right? But go pick your team. And it's not a great scenario, but I really think in this, it's the best case scenario because I don't know about you. Based on what I've seen from Kyrie the last year and a half, I think Durant and Westbrook on the Nets win more games than Durant and Kyrie.
Yes, no doubt in my mind. Two final things I know you got to run. One is, in your opinion, what's going to happen here? Like, take your best guess. What do you think is going to happen? Is Kevin
KD
Durant
plays with the Nets this season?
Yeah, okay. That seems
at least
to make
to start the
sense.
year, at least till the deadline.
Yeah. What a mess, man! It's
going to be a mess. It's going to be a disaster. Steve Nash, by the way. I mean, poor guy, whether he's a great coach or not. You want to talk about seeking therapy. This guy doesn't like you anymore or just basically threw you under the bus. Kyrie is a pain in the ass. Your team's not good enough. And every day is going to be about how they don't want to be there. I mean, what a mess that's going to be. But let me turn it to you. What do you think? Is it? If
I
we
agree.
did like a pie of probabilities, isn't that the most probable thing right
now? That
is
the most probable, just because again, Sean Marks, I don't think he's going to just trade him for anything. He shouldn't,
though.
I mean, I say yes and no, only in the sense you're right. You shouldn't just give him away for nothing. I mean, he's your most valuable asset, but at the same time, live in reality, be pragmatic, and understand that you're not going to get back what you expect.
But what deal? Can I ask you? And I got a couple more minutes. What? Because I'm curious. What deal? What of all the reported machinations? What do you think, if you're the Nets, is the best matchup to get the most for him? Is it
Celtics.
the Jaylen Brown package with the Celtics?
Yeah. That's what I would go with. Yeah, I would go with Celtics or the Warriors. But apparently Marks isn't high on.
Try and get Kyrie to play with Jaylen Brown, and then maybe if Kyrie turns it around, extend him. What do you try? Because then it's you got Kyrie. That. It's that's the problem. I would move Kyrie, and I would. Because here's the thing. They could trade, think about this last point. They could trade Kyrie. You already have KD pissed off, and he hates everyone. What is he going to do? Hate it more? Right? But you could trade Kyrie, force KD to live in a world without Kyrie, bring some kind of a package back, and then sit KD down and make him get stuck there, but try and sell him on, it's your team now. You don't have a tag team member. It's yours. Here are options. Let's sit down. What could we do? What other trades could we make? I would force KD to live in a world without Kyrie and see if maybe you could sell him on, hey, here's your chance to prove you're the man. Go average 40 a game.
The only problem with everything you said, the only one problem, I like it, but who's gonna trade for Kyrie? No one wants him.
You got to get Westbrook.
That's it. I think that's it. And even then, you're the Lakers are making crazy demands themselves. I'm very curious to see a year from now what happens with Kyrie, because some team might take a gamble on him, like the Magic. Some team desperate, right? They might give him a 1-year deal, some big deal. But I'm very curious to see what happens a year from now.
I think the Knicks would be interesting. It just never developed. I think Kevin Durant would be. Now, look, I think he may fail miserably in New York. But I think Thibodeau's the right coach for him.
Yes.
I think Thibodeau's the right coach for him. I think you could sell KD clearly on the stage because he thinks he's a hero. And you've got now the Brunsons and you've got winner types. I happen to really like RJ Barrett. I think, it's not a downfall to be a guy who's going to be a really, really good player for a long time. That's a good thing to say about players. And that's what he's going to be, a really, really good player.
You're confident. A lot of people are confident.
If they could have centered a deal around Barrett, and you've got Julius Randle and Brunson and Durant and what they have, and New York and that stage, that to me is the one that really would have been kind of interesting.
It still could, right? I mean, I'm not as high on RJ Barrett as a lot of people are. And a lot of people are.
He's a really good player. He's a really good player. That's what he is.
But if the Knicks offer that, I hope the Nets listen, because that would actually make some sense. That Knicks roster,
and then it's you got to give you got to have Kevin Durant playing at the Garden as the Nets organization. I don't know if they care about that stuff, but the optics aren't good. Right?
Oh, the Nets, I'm sure do care. I'm sure they do care.
Oh my God! How much would you love to see Kyrie against KD?
Casey, you know this.
Oh, please.
Yeah, but you know the behind the scenes as well as anyone. Every one of these GMs, owners have the biggest, fattest egos. There's just no chance that'll ever happen. There's
Knicks
no
will
chance.
Have Donovan Mitchell before the season starts.
That I buy. Just to end this on a Warriors note, the Warriors schedule came out, and 2 dates that seem to be prominent. One is opening night. The Warriors, I believe, are going to be hosting the Lakers, a team that is so freaking overrated. I'm looking at those over-unders for wins, for example, and all I'm thinking is bet the under. I mean, that seems like such an easy bet. In fact, I might actually do that courtesy of our longtime sponsor, BetOnline. But the Warriors and Lakers are going to be playing opening night. This is going to be a ring ceremony. With that said, the Warriors have typically lost these kinds of games just because they're so excited about the ring. LeBron apparently really is close friends with most of the Warriors players, as evident by Draymond Green's wedding photos, and just the clutch thing with Draymond in general. So any
Which
thoughts
is weak,
on
by the way? That's weak on
What's that?
LeBron's take. That's weak. If I'm
What
from
is?
a LeBron standpoint, that's weak. They kept beating your ass constantly.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I mean, seriously, you
It is.
got to love on not from the Warriors standpoint. What do they care?
I know.
But from the LeBron
I follow.
standpoint, that's weak.
I 100% follow. That is you're absolutely right. LeBron is just weird to me, man. Anyway, so that's opening night, and then Christmas Day. My buddy John Zimmerman, I was visiting in Missoula, Montana. I don't want to hype that place up too much because it is that awesome, but I had fun there, man. They have casinos literally just everywhere. It's like mini Vegas sort of. And my buddy John Zimmerman puts a bet down. He thinks the Grizzlies are going to beat the Warriors on Christmas Day. I wholeheartedly disagree, simply because the Warriors are very cognizant of that game. There was a lot of trash talking a month or two ago between Draymond and John Morant. The Grizzlies are just this, bash, borderline, arrogant, cocky team that just runs their mouth endlessly. Jaren Jackson Jr. will not play in that game. Any thoughts on those two, just to finish it up, since we want to talk about the Warriors?
From the opener standpoint, I'm with you on the Lakers. Old and don't mesh together, and clearly don't seem to like each other, and those are all not good things, right? Let's work in new coaching, and hey, he'll just make it work. Not going to happen. So who knows what happens at a given night, right? But I'm not buying the Lakers. The thing I would say about Memphis is I bet you a lot of people are betting them in that game because they know that the Grizzlies are bulletin boarding that moment and everything that transpired. And the Warriors won another championship and have higher aspirations than just beating the Grizzlies.
Yes.
And sometimes that will net gain you a Memphis win in a situation like that because that's their Game 7. I'm not saying that I agree because I'm with you. I don't think they'll win that game, but I bet you that's the psyche behind it.
Yes.
I will say this, though. Let's cleanse our palates. After all the Kyrie and Kevin Durant stuff, I love John Morant. Give me John Morant all day. I can John Morant anything. Brash, cocky, arrogant, whatever. But that dude can play. He's tough. I mean, even Draymond has been complimentary. He's an unbelievable stock right now in terms of we're watching a guy who I think is going to be a top 5 player in this league at some point that you and I talk about 3-4 years down the road. He's that good.
If there's one huge if with John Morant, I agree with everything you said there. But I also could see the Derrick Rose path. That the man just throws his body around like a rag doll sometimes. Yeah. What's up?
Yes.
He's reckless. He's reckless. And if he wants to play the long game here, you got to stop flying 10 feet in the air because the landing is what screws you up, man. That's what eats up your knees over time. So if he stays healthy, 100% agree, dude. The guy's a freak of nature when it comes to talent. I mean, my God. And if he stays healthy, yeah, agreed. Anything you want to promote, Casey? You're on Twitter
and eats Built Bars.
Just saying. Dude, you gotta stop, man. You're making me laugh. You can follow Casey Stern at Casey Stern. You got Unfiltered, the podcast, the YouTube show. What else are we doing here, man? You accept DMs. DMs are open.
Look for Unfiltered in caps. Follow me at Casey Stern. DM me. Somebody a birdie told me, it wasn't Cyrus because he wouldn't talk about this stuff. We're professionals. Told me there's a lot of very attractive women in Montana that apparently need friends. I am big on friendship. So at Casey Stern, hop on board. And I'm sure we'll be back together again for our monthly conversation about how can Kyrie and Kevin Durant piss us off now? Because this is not going to end. And I hope they play together, and I'm rooting for dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria like in Ghostbusters. I hope it's a mess.
There you go, folks. Thank you for the 37 minutes of KD talk and 2 minutes of Warriors talk. Casey, I love you, brother. Again, you can follow him one more time. Ladies, DMs are open at Casey Stern. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Later.